I am really honored to be here with all of you and to talk to you about my journey, which is what I've been asked to talk about. And I don't know how much time I have, but I'll just try and speak for about 20, 30 minutes or something, and then leave some space for Q&A. So I was asked to talk about the journey that I've had and the way that I've been and the work that I've done with India-Pakistan peace. So how that started was when I was a young journalist in Lahore. Actually, it might have started even earlier when I was a very young child and I went to India with my mother. My mother took me to India, where my family is from Karachi. And in our household, we grew up always just thinking of Indians as human beings, as other people. We never thought of Indians as the enemy, even if we didn't like some of the policies of whatever. So fast forward to when I was a young journalist in Lahore, I got involved with people with the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, and I was the Dr. Mubashir Hassan, who was a pioneering, he was a former foreign economic finance minister of Pakistan. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous because I have not had spoken to this kind of a gathering before, and I know about the work you've been doing, and I'm really impressed by it. So I want to also acknowledge that. Case, I've seen your talk on the Indus Peace Park also, and Mo actually connected with me some years ago. It was before the pandemic even, when when he and Tony Sharma, another Rotarian in London, talked to me about this Peace Parks project, and that was just a mind-blowing idea for me. And then I realized that actually I've been writing about peace parks for some time as well, and I'll share my screen and I'll show you some of that stuff as well. But the Pakistan, I'll start with formally my work with India-Pakistan peace. Like, people sometimes ask me, when did you decide to do this? I didn't decide. I just got involved with it. And the more steps I took along this path, the more involved I got and the more committed I became and the more I saw how everything is interconnected. And that actually is what has led me to where I am today, which I will end this talk with. So to start with, I want to just share, Mo has been very kind and he has shared a lot about me and all that, but I just wanted to share a little bit more about what I'm doing so that you can look it up. So I have a website, which is beenasarwar.com. And the last post I made on that was about a cross-border solidarity of a Pakistani and an Indian poet. And in the film section, there is a documentary I made about Kashmir, about letting Kashmiris meet, and that was in 2009. And in the publication section, there is a talk that I gave in Canada more than 10 years ago, which was about the role of women building peace between India and Pakistan. So that is, a PDF is there. And so I'm just basically sharing some resources with you. And there are some other publications that I've done with that. And I'll just go on to the next part of it, which is the Pakistan India People's Forum for Peace and Democracy, which this is written in 2021, but it's an article that encapsulates a lot of what has happened. And this is somebody I respect greatly who I've never met. He's a sand artist in I think Odisha in India, and he does these amazing sand sculptures. Especially when there's between India and Pakistan, he's also done several of these. So the Pakistan India People's Forum for Peace and Democracy was something that, I don't think they have pictures in here, but it started in 1994 or 1995. And I remember that first meeting in Delhi when the Indian delegates or the Indian participants said that every time we talk about India, Pakistan, it's always India, Pakistan, India, Pakistan. So this time, this is one organization that will have Pakistan's name first. And that was so moving for me as a very young journalist there to come across these large-hearted people from India who were saying, we're going to have an organization that has Pakistan's name first. And the Pakistan India People's Forum for Peace and Democracy had meetings every single year. I think many of you would have heard about it. Every single year they had meetings with delegates ranging from between, I would say, 30 to 300 was the maximum, perhaps, every year, alternatively in India and Pakistan. Karachi, Lahore, Delhi, Bangalore, Kolkata, Calcutta, as it was called then, Peshawar, and in various cities around both countries. And then the visas stopped coming, and that is actually one of the biggest issues, is that the lack of visas between the two countries. So, sorry, there was an incoming call which I've muted. So one of the biggest issues between India and Pakistan is the lack of visas between these two countries. And I think in my work in my involvement in this issue over the last 3 decades, I've seen a lot of pain, a lot of human suffering that these intransigent policies between these two countries, the way that they behave at the state level, is so inhumane and inconsiderate of ordinary people. It is inconsiderate of the individuals. And one story that I did recently was about a man who's from Pakistan, who's from Tharparkar in Pakistan, and he applied 8 times for a visa to India, where his mother was dying of cancer, and he was not given that visa. His mother passed away. He eventually got the visa, and he's there right now. He invited me to his children's wedding, and of course I couldn't go. But this is just some of the things that drive me to keep doing this. And it's not just the human cost. I mean, all of you know, you are all much more well-versed than I am in issues of finance and economy and things. And you know that this is a region that is geographically integrated, it's historically and culturally integrated, and yet there is no commerce, there is no trade across the borders of these countries. And the trade has to go via Dubai and the Middle East, and to the cost of billions of dollars in the region. And it was Dr. Mubashir Hassan who was the person who got me involved in the Pakistan-India People's Forum for Peace and Democracy, one of the people, along with Asma Jahangir, the late Asma Jahangir, and the late I.A. Rahman. And these are legendary names in Pakistan, Asma Jahangir being a human rights lawyer and I.A. Rahman being a journalist. And so they got me involved in this, and sadly all of them are no more. But in a way, what we are doing, what with the volunteers that I'm working with, what we are trying to do is to take forward that legacy. So what I'm doing now is building upon all of this. And what Dr. Mubashir said to me once, many years ago, at that time I was like, this is crazy talk. He said that if France and Germany can be part of the EU, why can't India and Pakistan be part of a South Asian Union? And of course, that makes so much sense. But of course, we know we cannot see it happening. And that's what I said to him. I said, this is, Dr. Saab, what are you saying? This is not like, what, do you see the situation? How can you even say that? And he said, yes, but we can at least talk about it. I said, हाँ, मगर हम बात तो कर सकते हैं ना. So at that time, I was busy with other stuff, whatever, but that thought percolated. And so we started in another era of impasse between India and Pakistan. We started the South Asia Peace Action Network South Asia Peace Action Network, and which is acronym is Sapan. And many of the people here are signatories to the Sapan charter, and I will go through that as well. I will share that with you as well. And so there's more than now almost 80 organizations have endorsed the charter, and several hundred individuals, and it is not a mass signature campaign, but it's about building meaningful connections. And so I'll just and in between, there was between Pakistan India People's Forum for Peace and Democracy, the PIPFPD, and South Asia Peace Action Network, or Sapan, there is Aman ki Asha, as Mo mentioned, which means Hope for Peace, which was started by the 2 biggest media groups of India and Pakistan. And I was the editor. I am the editor from the Pakistan. I mean, for both sides, I edit the website. I'm the editorial lead of that project. And the two media houses stopped doing the on-ground, events that they were doing that we were editorially supporting. But I've continued to update the website, although I'm not under contract with them anymore because it's too important uh, constituency to let go of. So with that, I'll just share the screen and show you a little bit more about these. So this is Aman Ki Asha is the website, and it has several campaigns, including about water and about trade for peace. And this is an initiative that many of you as Rotarians will particularly relate to, the Heart to Heart, which is about saving children's lives and children with congenital heart defects in Pakistan, which did not have the facility for pediatric cardiac surgeries. They would be taken to India, and these would be the poorest of the poor many times. So because of the partnership with the Jung Group, there would be these big ads that people would then know that this is an option that they have, this is a resource that they can have, and they would take these, the Rotarians would raise money, and we would publicize the efforts, and they would get taken to India, and they would get operated upon. And the Pakistani Rotarians contributed to the Indian children's surgeries by contributing money via Chicago, because there's no direct trade and finance between India and Pakistan. So that's in the Aman. And the In Humanity's Name campaign was about prisoners, because prisoners on both sides, when they get picked up, especially when, and mostly they get picked up, hundreds get picked up when they cross the maritime border between India and Pakistan, the invisible maritime border. And when they get, that's one of the articles about that. And when they get picked up about that, then they end up being in jail for months and years, even though the actual border penalty for border crossing, which is criminalized, which in this case we say it should not be criminalized, and it should just be if they're caught crossing the border inadvertently, let them give back the catch, confiscate the catch, and send them back to their side instead of putting them in jail, and their families don't know about it, and they end up being there for years, and sometimes they die. Okay. And so that's one of the things. And I heard somebody talk about, as I mentioned, we've been talking about peace parks for some time. So Peace Park. So we've done a lot of stuff. Like this was in 2010, we talked about, I did a conversations with Dilip D'Souza in Mumbai, and we talked about this idea back in 2010. And there are several articles about this idea of peace parks in here. And I believe that the article about, which also we have cases presentation is also in here somewhere in the Aman Ki Asha website. Actually, if I just go to Mo Ayaz's name, I think we will find it. Yeah, so there was this one, this article, and that has that's more, and that's cases presentation from 2021 that's in there as well. So what I've always tried to do in the work, as my work as a journalist and as an activist, is, as an activist, I'm doing what I'm doing. Then as a journalist and as an editor, I'm trying to amplify those voices. And I saw Noshaba here as well, so we have an article about her as well in here. And then we had there was something about so army officers, of course, don't get visas to visit each other's, to visit across the border also. But I'm just remembering a time in the 1990s, and I saw Faratullah Babar is here, and he will know about this as well, that retired Indian officers from they're called Rimkolians, I think the Rashtra Indian Military College in Dehradun. They were given visas to come to Pakistan, and Pakistani officers who were alumni of that network were given visas to visit India. So Pakistani Indian officers retired Indian officers have been given visas in the past. There were 2 or 3 years when they had regular exchanges coming and going across the border. So it's not like it can't happen and it shouldn't happen. These are this, and I teach journalism also here in Boston, and one of the things I tell my students is that it's not just what you say, it's also the questions you ask. That is so important. The questions are like, why can they not be given visas? Why can a retired military officer who perhaps has family on the other side, or maybe just wants to travel, why can they not have? And of course, the answer is because there's lack of trust. But there's lack of trust because both these countries are paranoid about each other, and with good reason, that we know what's been going on. But I think we really need to raise the pressure from the ground, and all of you Rotarians particularly are so influential. And what can we do to you know, to create that pressure, to lobby behind the scenes, to change policy, right? That is what needs to be changed. Um, so with that, I'll just come to what we are doing now with the South Asia Peace Action Network, which is Sapan, which, as I said, many of you here are signatories to. So that's southasiapeace.com. And the founding charter, it's very brief. It's just three points that, you know, have a visa-free South Asia, visa on arrival, or at least ease of visas, to ensure human rights and dignity for all, and to cooperate in all areas. So this is the minimum common agenda that I think anybody with any sense would agree to. And then to endorse it, you just click on that link, and it is there in several languages, and it is being endorsed in other languages as well. And we have, you know, almost 80 organizations have endorsed it. So if any of you have organizations, NGOs that you would like to have on this list or endorse it as individuals, you can do that. And then it was started in March 2021 with over 80 people on an online meeting that we convened. So those names are there in the first lot, and the rest of it is is just put as people endorsed it. And then the other thing that we're doing is we are very regularly doing events. On the last Sunday of every month, we do events, and we also do allied events, or we publicize allied events. People who are organizations that are our partners, we will add their events as allied events, and that's in the allied events section. As you can see, this one was an allied event. The two Pakistani and Indian poets that I mentioned earlier, that I started this talk with. Um, and then on the side of this, on the Sapan News website, you'll see this thing that says Milne Do. Milne Do means let people meet. So this is a petition that we started actually through Aman ki Asha, but then we sort of it's morphed through, now it's done through the South Asia Peace, and these are the different organizations that have endorsed this petition, or who are there as endorsers. And this outlines the need for people to let people meet, to heal the pain. And it outlines the restrictions that there are, the demands that we have, and, you know, to institute soft borders, ease visa restrictions, allow long-term visas to members of divided families and those who meet the visa criteria, to allow cross-border spouses from other South Asian countries the same rights and privileges as full citizens, which should be a no-brainer. Like, you know, if you are married to somebody who's a citizen, you should have all those rights, but that is not the case between our countries. To decriminalize inadvertent border crossings, as I mentioned earlier, and to make student visas more freely available and enable more youth exchanges across the region. And that is something that used to happen. There used to be youth exchanges, and we need those to happen again. Although there are some online things happening now. Yesterday, I talked to the RB College in Bangalore, and talked to some students there about partition and the need for, you know, stopping this ridiculous impasse. And it was wonderful to meet with those students. And there were some students from Pakistan also, because the organizers had reached out to me and I had connected them with some Pakistani colleges. And there were some students from Pakistan there. And that was such a rich and thought-provoking interaction. And so we need a lot more of those as well. The other thing that's happened that has emerged from Sapan News is, because, as I mentioned, as a journalist, I always try to amplify those voices and to have and positivity. Um, and of course, that doesn't mean that you become an ostrich and you ignore what's actually happening, because we all know what's wrong. And there are enough news outlets to give you the headlines and tell you what's happening, which is so terrible. So what we try to do at Sapan News is that we try to go behind the scenes and to talk about things that other news outlets don't talk about. So it started out from it started at the South Asia Peace web thing. And by the way, both these websites are made entirely voluntarily by Ikta Kapoor in Delhi, who's a journalist and an editor as well. And she runs Ishi magazine, which is a wonderful magazine, basically uplifting women and women's voices. So Sapan News Network used to be here, but now when you click on that, it takes you to the new website that we launched last year at the second anniversary of South Asia Peace Action Network of Sapan. And this March, the last Sunday of this March, will mark the third anniversary. And we actually are fundraising for that, and we want to raise $3,000 by the end of March for that. So this is the Sapan News. We have a feature section. We have it links back to the South Asia Peace Action Network. And if people want to write for that, we have an edit. So we are, the thing that I'm really I think really proud of and pleased with is the fact that Sapan News, it's a non-profit organization registered here in Massachusetts, where I'm based, under the Sapan Foundation. We just became a 501c3 non-profit organization, so Sapan News functions under that. And we are members of professional media outlets like the Independent News Network, INN, Independent News Network, and Lion, the local independent online news, and also the ACOS Alliance. And so we have an editorial independence policy. We have a donor transparency policy. There are writer guidelines. If anybody wants to write for us, we welcome that. We welcome pitches. And so the kind of stories we take up are things that you don't really see very much in other. I'll just look at the last 3 or 4 stories. Like this one is by a writer in Pune, about a mango tree that was taken from Pakistan, that was given as a present to these padyatris, these 3 padyatris who went to Pakistan, and they were gifted a mango tree, which was like 4 feet tall. And you are not allowed to take plants across the border. But they were allowed to because some immigration official saw this Jalandhar, his flute, and he played the flute, and they played some their Jai Jagat song, which everybody loves, and they allowed them to take the tree back to India. And so they've grafted this Pakistani chausa, which is actually one of my favorite mangoes, and mango season is coming up. So those of you who are in Pakistan are very lucky, because those are the best mangoes in the world. So they grafted the Pakistani chausa with the Indian kesar, which I've never had, and I don't know if I'm saying it right, but because we don't get Indian mangoes in Pakistan and vice versa. And of course, that's a big thing. Which mangoes are better, Indians or Pakistanis? But so now this is a combination, and we'll see where that goes. And then this was a piece about based on an artist who has a syncretic South Asian vision. She draws upon Sufic and Buddhist things, and this image is from something that she curated. And then this piece was about by a Sri Lankan who traveled to Pakistan and had an amazing experience, and he wants to climb K2, which is the world's most dangerous mountain, and he is looking for support for that. So this is a wonderful piece by Dimantha Thenuvara in Sri Lanka. And then this is about a Bengal tiger cub that was rescued from Islamabad, and it was sent to South Africa. And this thing is that it's not Bengal tigers are not native to South Africa. So it should have actually been sent to some tiger sanctuary in India or Bangladesh or something like that. But because the people who were organizing all this didn't have those linkages, this tiger had to go 3,000 miles away to South Africa. So, and then as I mentioned about the donate link, like I said, we're trying to raise money. So this is the donate links are on both the websites. And that's the changed petition. And oh yes, and the last thing I want to tell you about is our Sapan Alliance newsletter, which brings together both these initiatives, the South Asia Peace Action Network and Sapan News. And so this, we try and bring it out every couple of weeks or a month. So you can subscribe to this as well. When you endorse the founding charter, we automatically put you in onto the newsletter, so you get the updates. Like the last one was about the last seminar we did was about South Asia's romance with democracy. We had wonderful speakers from around the region, and it has a list of the latest Sapan features and all that. And I just want to end this by saying that why we do this, as I started out by saying, is the human element, the pain of and it's as a human right, I think, that we have the right to travel, and of course countries have the right to let in who they want or not, but at least let the process continue, at least entertain the visa applications instead of turning them back. The one of the reasons why we're doing the South Asia Peace Action Network, Sapan, is because this India, Pakistan, what we call in Urdu, Hindi, tu main, constantly butting heads. It's going nowhere. We've done millions of petitions and tried to have these initiatives, and we keep, behind the scenes, track two and all that. And of course, all that is very important and has to be done. But what we want to do is privilege the peripheries, move away from the hegemony of the center, and think about others around you. It's not all about you. But think about Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka that are being affected, and Maldives and Afghanistan that are being affected by the relationship between the elephant in the room, between the Pakistan and India. When two elephants fight, it's the grass that gets trampled. And so and when we talk about privileging the peripheries, to also remember that when we talk about India and Pakistan, it often becomes Urdu, Hindi, Punjab, and it's North India and Pakistan, that central part, the heartland of the subcontinent. But let's think beyond that and think of the region. So this Peace Park idea is a wonderful idea and should definitely, I support it with all my heart and will do everything I can to promote it and support it. But also, to keep in mind that there are others around us that we need to think about and to bring into the conversation and get their views also. So I'll end with that, and I apologize if I've taken up too much time. Thank you.